Reports say that GM Troy Weaver will remain in place while the Pistons search for their president of basketball operations. But does this actually mean that he is safe? And is Monty Williams safe? We'll talk about this in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Koo Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Koo Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. There's another great way to support the podcast. Over the last 24 hours since I recorded the podcast, right after the news that the Detroit Pistons were going to start searching for a president of basketball operations, we had some news drop concerning Troy Weaver. We also had a statement from Tom Gores. All happened, of course, as it usually does, right after I record the podcast and get it updated and upload, I should say, for you guys. So, that's usually how it always goes. So that's great. So we'll talk about, is Troy Weaver safe to start off? Then we'll talk about, is Monty Williams safe? But then also there's a former Piston that retires that I want to talk about in the final segment of the podcast. But so let's start with the report, and then we'll say what Tom Gores' statement was, and I'll speak on Troy Weaver. So the report came from Charania. He said that Troy Weaver will remain in his position as the Pistons search for their president of basketball operations. Now, when that news dropped, I was like, oh, well, there you go, Troy's staying. And I saw all Pistons fans react that way, like initially, very quickly. But Omari, James, and a few others also came out and immediately said, this doesn't change anything. This just means he's going to be in his place as GM until they find a president of basketball operations. Then his future will be determined still. Because remember, that's what's been rumored for a while, that I've said this on the podcast to you guys as well, that the Tom Gores, and I guess this is, I don't know, have I said this on the podcast? I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but if I have, I'm going to say it now, because this is what I have the understanding of. Tom Gores is willing to fire Troy Weaver. Tom Gores is willing to fire Monty Williams. He is willing to move on from them if that is what's seen as the best case, if that's seen with the best way to go. But they're going to get this president of basketball operations, and they're going to allow him to make that decision. If he comes to the conclusion that Troy Weaver needs to go, Troy Weaver will go. If he comes to the conclusion that Monty Williams needs to go, Monty Williams will go. So, no, this is not absolutely, this doesn't mean that Troy Weaver is still the GM. He's remaining as the GM. He could, but that's not what this news meant. It just simply meant that this is the role he's going to stay in until they find the president of basketball operations. That's all they have on him right now. That's the only update we're going to get. And then to the statement that Tom Gores put out, he said, quote, "This past season has been incredibly difficult and frustrating for our fans, players, and our entire organization. We will continue to invest in our core group of young players and surround them with the right complementary talent. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to build a winning team. Nothing is off the table. As tough as this season has been, a bright future is available to us. It's in our power to get this right, and we will. This is a pivotal summer for the Pistons." End quote. So, let's get to Troy Weaver. Do I think Troy Weaver is safe? No, I don't think he is safe at all. I think that do I think it's 100% that he is gone? No. But do I think it's highly likely that he is gone from the organization? I'd say so. I think at the very least, like we mentioned in the last episode, at the very least, he's not going to have basketball this season anymore. Like, that's not going to be the case. Once president of basketball operations signed or found, hired, whatever, he's not going to have final basketball decision or final basketball say. So that's like the biggest takeaway, no matter what. I guess the real question is, will he remain in a lesser role? And if there's a president, and this is something I don't really know, I guess we should try to find someone to have on the podcast to talk about this. I don't really know how the inner workings of a front office works, where you have a president of basketball operations and then a GM. Like, what is it that the GM does and the president of basketball operations does? It's like, what task does one do and what task does the other do? Like, I don't know the inner workings. Maybe it's different for each front office. But I have to assume, based off how things have went, based off the things that I've heard, that once the Pistons sign this president of basketball operations, the reason why they're doing this is to have one direct line, one just one clear direction, one clear view of what needs to happen, what they want done. No more like this is an attempt, from what I understand, to how the concerns of there's too many cooks in the kitchen and there's too many people with opinion. Like this is what the one of the points of doing this is to get someone, let them have the final say of everything, let them build this team in this image, and give them the reins. No more, what this guy, that guy, this guy. That's the point of this. So if that's the point of this, why would you keep Troy Weaver around? That would just add another person, unless you're demoting him to literally just a scout, which I guess isn't completely out of the realm of possibility. But I'd have to say that I think as of right now, do I think he's safe? Absolutely not. And if I had to bet on it, I don't think he returns with the Detroit Pistons. But we won't know that until the Pistons hire their president of basketball operations, which Tom Gores will be conducting a search for the president of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons. It won't be just him. We'll see how and who's involved and how the search actually takes place. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, we won't find out anything until then. And I'd assume they want to get that done pretty quickly with the offseason starting. They probably would like to get a head start and everything going on. So I'd assume that this is something that's going to happen sooner rather than later. But we'll see what happens. I don't think Troy Weaver's safe. The news doesn't mean he's guaranteed to stay as a GM. I think his seat is just as hot as it was 2 days ago, 24 hours ago. And I'm still willing to say that I think he's going to be gone from the organization once they sign once they hire their president of basketball. But let me know what you guys think. You guys think that Troy Weaver will return with the Detroit Pistons next year? Do you think this season was his final year with the Detroit Pistons? Do you guys have any favorites for the president of basketball operations or who they'll sign? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, is Monty Williams safe? First-year head coach for the Detroit Pistons. Is he safe? We'll talk about that when we come back. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is always your updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen information system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect mid-size crossover for your next adventure. The 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has room up to 8 in expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com today. And let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm a competitive person. I've been told this by my friends. I've been told this by my wife. I think a lot of you guys would agree that that's probably true. And yeah, I admit I have a competitive side. I think we all have a little bit, but I might have a little kind of a competitive side. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties just like classic Monopoly. But then I can also rob their vault of riches for myself. And the leaderboard showed me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with your friends. People all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends today. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Again, download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play Store today. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free to available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. As I'm recording this, I'm also watching this Pelicans-Lakers game here. I really want the Pelicans to win. I'm rooting for the Pelicans. Uh, Zion just had a crazy first half, but it's the third quarter and they're down 11. CJ McCollum's out here pulling his best Killian Hayes impression, uh, completely selling the Pelicans, but we'll see what happens. Um, anyways, let's get back to Pistons talk though. Who do you guys want to win the play in? Who you guys got winning? Who you guys got winning the championship? Anyways, like I said, let's get back to some Pistons talk. Um, is is Monty Williams safe? We talked about Troy Weaver. Is Monty Williams safe? So I want to break this down. Um, during the exit interviews the other day, Piston players, there were a select few, like we mentioned in the last podcast, that were really complimentary of Monty Williams when they didn't necessarily have to be. Like, it wasn't like they were being asked, "Hey, how good do you think Monty was this year?" Or, "Hey, do you think Monty was great for you guys this year?" Or, "Hey, do you guys think Monty did a great job this like X's and O's?" Like, they weren't asked about Monty really, but they went out of the way to talk about how good of a character he is, and how good of a leader he is, all this stuff. And that was, I believe, Jane Ivey, Jalen Duren, um, Quinn Grimes. Those are the players I can name off the top that had some nice things to say about Monty. And before we get into the other side of the argument, I will say this, that despite this season, how bad it went, you can question whether players, zoned out. Did they buy into it? I think you have to come to the logical conclusion that no, they did not buy into what was going on and they stopped believing in it. I think that there's an argument to be made that he did lose the locker room, um, as most would during a 28 game losing streak in a season like this. However, despite all that, you didn't get any rants. You didn't get any like revolts. You didn't get any what was back in 2012. What did they call it? What did they? What? Oh my god! Why is it escaping my? What Rip and Tate? Not Tayshaun. What Rip and Tracy McGrady did? Oh my god! Why am I? Oh, mutiny. What, they don't have anything like that happening with the Pistons this year. So give credit to that. So maybe Monty, you know, X and O's wise, we'll talk about that. But hey, maybe what they're saying really is true about how he had the locker room and how he kept it calm as much as possible during this. So if that's true, then you can give him credit for that. Outside of that, though, everything else was a disaster. I mean, quite literally everything else was a disaster. When it comes to going back to the beginning of the year with Killian Hayes starting over Jane Ivey, how Jane Ivey was getting back and forth throughout the year. The rotations were concerning. The fact that the Pistons, after the Pistons made trades, and he said that they were trying to win, he went out and played 12 guys in the first quarter of a game, and there was numerous games after the trade deadline that I think a lot of people feel, not just Piston people, a lot of people around the NBA feel, Monty literally threw multiple games where the Pistons would have the lead. They were winning the starters minutes, and you wouldn't play the starters longer than 32 minutes. You'd ride the bench, play 11 guys, and they would just get absolutely destroyed. And he'd ride them long, and then the team would come back in. The starters would come back into like a 12-point deficit after having a lead. There was at least like 4 to 5 games at the trade deadline where that happened. And if that doesn't happen, who knows? Maybe the Pistons don't have, the worst season in franchise history by win-loss rate. Maybe they end up getting to like 17 wins if something like that doesn't happen. So there's all kinds of, we can go through all kinds of stuff. The fact that he would come out and say he's doing one thing, then literally do the complete opposite. The fact that he had everyone confused about some of the things he was doing. The fact that national media was talking about it. There was a lot, obviously, that went wrong with Monty this year. But I think the biggest question, obviously, for Pistons fans to do with it, whether he's safe or not, is obviously his contract. He signed, at the time, the largest contract by a head coach in NBA history. They are going to be on the hook for a lot of money. I'm going to get the exact contract up. I know a lot of it had incentives on it. So for example, he signed a 6-year, $78.5 million deal. But I know that a lot of that, or not a lot of it, but there is quite a few of it that is incentive based. And it could even get up higher to $100 million. So not great. Not great. That is a lot of money to owe somebody. However, as I've said numerous times before, my understanding is If Tom Gores, if Tom Gores hires a president of basketball operations, and the president of basketball operations feels that Monty Williams is not the right person for the job, that they don't want him as their head coach. They want someone. They want their own head coach. If that's something they want and believe, Tom Gores is willing to swallow that contract. If Monty Williams remains, it is not going to be solely because of the contract. It's going to be because he did some kind of convincing to make him think he's the guy for the job. That's why he'll remain as the head coach if he does. So, with that said, do I think Monty Williams is safe? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it's pretty likely. I'm still on the side of I think Monty and Weaver get dismissed. I think the possibility of Weaver getting dismissed and Monty staying has risen a little bit due to the comments from um, some of the players at the exit interviews, and the contract is the contract at the end of the day. So it does play a little bit, like the fact that he has 5 years left, and this is the first year. Do you want to give him another year? It's only been 1 year into his contract, whatever. Like, is that something you want to do? Um, so I do think that part has risen a little bit. Do I believe that he is safe? Absolutely not. I still would bet on the side that he's going to be gone. Um, but like I said in the first segment, it's really the Pistons fan base and the community is really just in standby mode right now because they have to wait to find out who the president of basketball operation is. Like nothing can happen until they find out who they're hiring as the president of basketball operations. We won't get any insight. We won't get any idea on what they're doing, who's staying, who's going. Like we won't know any of that until they hire a president of basketball operations. So we'll wait and see. But no, I don't think Monty Williams is safe. And I think if I had to bet, I would say Monty Williams. I would bet that Monty Williams is not here next year. I think what could be interesting though. Cade said at the player exit interviews that if they ask him, basically if they ask him anything, he will answer anything. He'll give whatever input that is accepted in this offseason. I wonder if they approach Cade about Monty. And I wonder what he says. I truly don't know what he would say. I truly don't know how Cade feels exactly about Monty. I'm sure we can guess, and I don't feel like I could confidently say exactly how he feels about Monty. So I'm interested. I wonder if they actually do confront Cade and ask him, "Hey, how you feel about Monty coming back next year?" Like, I wonder if that's something they approach him about. But outside of that, no, I don't think Monty Williams is safe. But we'll find out soon whether he's coming back or not. I'd still hedge on the side that he's not. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think Monty Williams is safe for now? Do you guys think he's going to get another year? Would you fire everybody? Let me know again. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cooper. When we come back, a Detroit Piston has retired. A former Detroit Piston, I'm sorry, has retired. I want to spend a few minutes just talking about that when we come back. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning a championship is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find that that's what you're looking for. With eBay Guarantee Fit, your price is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, and you'll get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers at ebaymotors.com. So I want to thank you guys again for being Locked On Pistons, your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So Blake Griffin retired today. This is the 16th. He retired today. He hung it up. It's a very successful career, I would say. six-time All-Star or six-time All-NBA, I'm sorry. That's one of the best in-game dunkers of all time, and obviously, he was a Piston for a few years. And really, the bright spot obviously only lasted for about 1 year, that 18-19 season. We didn't get anything else outside of that from Blake. We got half a season that 16 or that 17-18 season when they traded for him, but all the memories, the good memories, really come from that 18-19 season. And the reason why I wanted to spend time talking about this a little bit is simply because, as I've told you guys many times before, that season by Blake Griffin is by far the most fun and most enjoyable experience I've had watching the Pistons in my time since watching them. It's the most fun I've had since then. Going back to like 2010. That's the most fun that I've had watching them. And I think that's the same for a lot of Pistons fans. Like, that just paints to you how poor the last 15 years has been for this team. A lot of kids and a lot of young adults younger than me, the best thing they've had was that 18-19 season from Blake Griffin. All the memories, the game winners he hit that year, the special dunks, special performances, the All NBA season, having a superstar like Blake Griffin in Detroit where media actually cares, and he's in commercials, and he's doing Jimmy Fallon, and all this kind of stuff. Like, the Pistons, I hadn't experienced anything like that. It's the same for a lot of Pistons fans. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to say congratulations to Blake on a great career, and I hope he does great with whatever else the next chapter of his career. And I seriously want to say thank you to Blake for what he gave Pistons fans like myself, because or people who were at that time growing up as Pistons fans. Like, I just want to say thank you for what was brought to the Pistons fan base, to the Pistons community. And I know the thing is, I know there's going to be a lot of older Pistons fans who are going to get snarky and try belittling and gatekeeping younger Pistons fans like myself who talk about Blake Griffin's season like this. Okay, this isn't for you guys then. Like, this isn't for the older community. This isn't for people over 30. This isn't for people who actually have memories of the 2014. Sorry, we weren't born earlier. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If this isn't like your cup of tea and it really burns you this much, it feels like this, then just move on. But for everyone that's in the same boat as me, it feels the same way because this is all you had. They haven't been good. I think all of us, I've seen it a lot in the Pistons community already. I think we all just want to say thank you to Blake for that 18-19 season. And it was truly one of the only special moments in a lot of Pistons fans' fandom, and the best moment they've had over the last 15 years. Having that level of stardom, that level of a special type of season, seeing him transform his game like that was just it was the peak. It was the peak for a lot of Pistons fans. It was a really fun season with a lot of fun things happening. They won games. They actually were playing meaningful games. The first playoff game at Little Caesars Arena, I remember being at the game in Little Caesars Arena, how packed it was, how interested the Detroit fan base was at that time compared to now. Like, compared to now, no one even cares. Like, half the city is tuned out. At that time, the whole city was behind them. The whole city was at that. The crowd was crazy during that playoff series. And they got swept, yeah, but that just shows you, like, when you give Pistons fans something to root for, they will rally behind the team. And Blake gave Pistons fans something to rally behind, and they rallied behind it that year. It was special to see all the Pistons fans. It was special to see a playoff game at Little Caesars Arena. So, look, great career for Blake. Congratulations on a great career. And seriously, thank you for that 18-19 season. It was an 8th seed. You got swept. But that was the high point for a lot of Pistons fans. And it was a special year for a lot of Pistons fans who didn't get to witness anything else remotely close to it. So, have a great retirement, and thank you for what you sacrificed. Really sacrificing the rest of your career with that leg, playing through that leg injury, playing with that Gronk-like brace, looking like a transformer out there just to play 2 games for a Pistons franchise. So, congratulations to Blake, man. Appreciate everything you did. That's all I've got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, stay safe out there. Peace out.